What's going on, creators? Yeah, I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I'd like to talk a little bit about oneness during constricting cycles and expansion cycles, and how you can use vibration waveforms to kind of grasp this concept. Probably the easiest way and most applicable way is in just stock market. You know, for example, I got this pulled up. This is Tesla's stock. I'm going to take the screen capture here thing, and it's easy to kind of visualize what I'm saying by looking at just this waveform of stocks. You know, for most people in the world, you know, they'll have the motto of buy low, sell high, and in between these highs and lows, there's maybe a lot of fear, a lot of hysteria, a lot of like what ifs and worst case scenarios, and praying to this external force to try to manipulate the market, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And the thing about you know, creation, you can look at it all through a lens of oneness with the right perspective, and that's what I want to talk about, that perspective shift of just abundance, for example. Because in like stocks and in financial shit, it's really easy to start breaking free from a lot of limiting beliefs when it comes to money's hard to make. You need to be some special person to be able to do these things. It's so fucking simple, and it's almost like simple like it was like during COVID, to be like, I can't believe people aren't seeing this. And so I kind of want to share that with the people that listen to this channel too, so that you could, you know, take this advice and become abundant and do these things. But you know, the thing with, like, let me get the screen capture back on. You know, the thing with the world, you know, the world will freak out when they have a big dip. Like, so here's a dip, for example. Maybe do I don't know if a wider picture is better. This wider picture's better, but it doesn't really matter because time's an illusion, and all this is a fractal. Once you really kind of see it, you know, it just plays out over a longer period of quote-unquote time. But for most people, when they have a high, there's the fear and the panic and the sell-off and hysteria. And that's really applicable for a lot of the times when we're like facing the undesirable, when we're like trying to live from the end, you know, like the way like the law of assumption is, law of attraction on some level. It's more about embodying the end state versus, oh, I need this external thing to make me happy and feel abundant. You know, the law of assumption is more about I am already abundant, and like my life is a demonstration of that spiritual principle because of my right relationship with our Creator. And you know, so basically it's about embodying the promises of God being true. And through my own business, you know, I've probably the most faith I have in this is actually through the promise of God providing, because I started off when was it, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, in like the music business and the music licensing business. And at that time there was a quote unquote recession, and there was all these excuses of why it was going to be hard and difficult and a grind, and it was. But the thing I started learning on the way is how, you know, once you start really trusting that God's providing the customers, God's providing this is actually not even my business. It's I'm a steward of this business, and as I evolve my consciousness, my business will reflect that change. There's a lot of like rules and like spiritual concepts I started to learn through stewarding the flow of money. You know, when it comes like money in, paying others, you know, expenses, making a profit, you know, doing things that's like a value based versus there's all these different kinds of like correspondences that have different effects. And the more that you can kind of adhere to some of these mental principles, the less resistance you experience throughout the day, the less fear. And whenever you're experiencing like a constricting cycle, you know, of like right here where it drops from like 256 to 248, and that energy, you can look at everything as just being one energy at different vibrations. And so this energy is no different from like health, for example. You know, maybe there's something going on with your body that's causing you to have fear and hysteria. You can look at that as like a drop of energy. You can feel it as a drop of energy for sure. It feels constricting. It feels, you can tangibly feel it within your own consciousness. And the same is true just like in this visual, you know, so you can see these waves coming and going, coming and going. And part of the binary is in the fear, then the opposite, you know, almost like optimism, fear, optimism, fear, optimism, fear. And you can look at those changes just in this this waveform. I don't know what you call it in stocks. In music, you call this amplitude, this signal, a waveform. I guess it's the same. I don't know. I'm not a financial expert or anything. Not an expert. I'm just doing this shit, and seeing it working. But the thing of it is, most people don't realize you can make money whether the stock's going down or up. It doesn't really matter. And so when you're really flexing abundance, you start to short the stock when it starts to drop, and it's almost like a free fall, like exciting. Oh, how low can it go? Because the lower it goes, the more that you make. And then when it hits the bottom, then you can sell it and then buy more, and then it goes up, and then you can start to ride these waves differently. And the same is true with all different aspects of just how we're managing our energy exchanges with others, with our body, with the relationships that we have, and everything in creation that we're experiencing is in a form of relationship. There's an illusion that it's somehow separate from consciousness. It's just at a different phase, where it's like with this, for example, just as like you can look at it like a waveform. I can just do a waveform so it's not triggering. I know money can be triggering for people. There's so much like programming when it comes to abundance and prosperity, and I've been both. I got to a point with it, whereas I was just like rejecting it and just giving it away and just all sorts of stuff. Now I in kind of a different position, because like I'm getting off on a tangent. So here's like a waveform. It's the same kind of concept. You can see it here. Highs and lows and valleys and peaks, same kind of stuff. And if the more that you're spiritually keeping track of your own energy, like it is money, you can start to see the things that are draining versus the things that feel expansive. Realizing that, hey, it's all just one thing. It's just in my perspective. It's like, just like that stock market example. It's like, oh, instead of freaking out and becoming hysterical when I'm experiencing a different phase of this one energy, I'm just not using it correctly and understanding how this is a flex of abundance, how this is a flex of health, how this is a flex of fill in the blank, the fruit of the spirit, so to speak. It all has to do with how you're using what's manifesting in the here and now. And that's the other end of like the stock market. So much of it's just perception of the present moment. People are hysterical because, oh, the Dow Jones is this, and that's going to trigger this, and boom, 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 and then it spirals. Then all sorts of things start spiraling as everybody's thinking, oh, we're going to have a bad day. Even though it'd be a great day if you're just shorting it all. It's like, if it's going to keep falling, you can flex your abundance going down or going up. Same thing with your, all sorts of energy exchanges. It's like you can sit there and you can tell yourself stories of how you're a victim, how you should be afraid, how this is showing me, that God's not, on my side, that I'm alone, all these reasons to be fearful, all these reasons to be hysterical. I see the shit going on with the world and how they, double down with fear on COVID into this self-destructing pattern. It didn't work. Again, might be the 50th attempt, but the answer is to double down and do more of it instead of just like taking a step back and just going within and asking, is there a better way to use this energy? Is there a better use of my life? Anytime that you're being presented with this shit that's like obviously weeds, something's going on in your life, throw a dart at a relationship that you have. Maybe that relationship's with the government. Maybe that's with paying taxes. Maybe that relationship is just people at church. Maybe it's fill in the blank. Everything's a relationship. And it all depends on really the story and the mental narrative attached to it, what your beliefs truly are about it, are going to be reflected back to you. There was like a time where, it's like I looked at everything that the government did as being like this most incompetent entity on planet Earth. On some level, there is a lot of that. But on the other end of the spectrum, it really boils down to the consciousness of the people. hot take, it's like, people don't want to take responsibility for shit, but if you're living around a bunch of people with a high level of consciousness, it's going to be an awesome place to live versus, oh, I'm in prison and it's just like one fucking animal predatory thing after the next is worst case scenarios. I'm constantly attack, grievances, drama, bullshit. You can do both, it doesn't really matter, it just matters, do you want to keep doing it or do you want to choose to do something differently? When it comes to like, me personally, I've already done the shit, and it's just like, oh, there's just a better way. It got to a point where it's like suffering in itself just seemed like a stupid activity because it's not really a good use of that energy, because it's planting the seeds of the undesirable into the field of awareness, which will come back now energized because there's so much emotional charge. You can look at emotion as being energy in motion. What are you feeding in the present moment? Are you hysterical? Is the stock market going down? I'm going to lose everything. I'm hysterical. Or are you going, oh, great time to short it? And then using that energy to flex abundance because you'll be abundant as it goes down and you'll be abundant as it goes back up. The same thing with all of these different relationships. If you have these things that are glaringly in your face, can't get around it, it's manifesting through different people, but it's the same archetype, the same drama, and you just can't get away from it. It's in your consciousness. And so it's like you have to either, face it head on. You have to ask, I would just ask, ask, believe, receive. You don't need to hear somebody out here helping you, really. The answer's within you is what I'm trying to say. And so when it comes to any of these types of energy exchanges where it feels like a drain, check your mental story. Am I telling myself something that's hysterical? Am I telling myself something that is not true? Is it something that's coming from my old identity of being cursed? Because the same ratio, I've noticed this through COVID, just doing, the financial shit that I just started getting into. Mainly, and I just want to share that with other people because it's so retardedly simple that, I want everybody that listens to this to be able to be abundant and free and prosperous and be able to have the opportunity to create heaven where you live, now, not in this future utopia you made it moment, but now, and to do that, you need some energy. You need some energy in the form of money, to help other people. You can donate it to your churches. You can donate it to charity. You can, and part of like, why I even wanted to even get involved in it is through realizing how you give and receive, so to get anything, you have to start giving it first. And so it's like, it got to a point in my business where I was like, I hired people and I was spending it would come back. And so then it's like, okay, well, I don't, I had to go through all of these, like, these excuses and these limiting beliefs I carried. A lot of it stemmed from just these, like, rabbit holes of, like, the Federal Reserve and banking in general. And there's a lot of, like, trickery and usury and bullshit. And there's all these stories and all these pedestal things, that I had. But, the bottom line is it all depends on if you're going to do this, from a perspective of how can I expand the kingdom of heaven in the present moment? What can I do to do that? It's all related to your spiritual development, so by the time you have the consciousness for it, it's like you're already steward what you have well, because everything going on in your present moment is a reflection of your consciousness. And so getting more shit isn't going to have the effect the world tells you of like, oh, once you get this, then you feel a certain way. You can double down on that and double down on that until you've fucking chased the fucking rabbit all the way down the hole for all I care. I don't care. You have to learn it through your own experience. But from my experience doing music, I thought, oh, if I just did music, I'd be so happy. And like the area of music I really focused on or whatever, was in music licensing. So I have like a huge library of commercial tracks with different publishers that go into film, into TV, into ads, into YouTube shit, games, all of it. If it's making money and has music playing, the people bought a license to use it from a publisher. And, that's kind of how it flows. But, the thing of it is, it's like, oh, if I just got music on a TV show, then I'll feel like I made it. And then I'll be so happy. Or the first time I get a track of mine on the radio, then I make it and I feel so happy. and then you keep chasing these things and chasing it. And then it was like, for me, it was like, okay, well, if I just got music into a show that my family actually appreciates and likes, then I'll feel like, I made it, I did it, or whatever. And then that happens. Same thing, same pattern every time. Short term, like, yay, satisfaction, followed by, oh, that didn't work. I feel the same way, it's like, I almost feel like worse, on a weird way. It's like, well, that didn't work, so maybe if I got a bigger movie, then I can feel like I made it. And then, but the law of assumption is more like, I have already arrived, I've made it already. I don't need this milestone or whatever to feel how I want to feel. It's more about, I feel how I want to feel right now. And because of that, I just trust that God's going to line up the customers and how the thing will unfold. Even today, I was like kind of in my own kind of prayer life, just, tossing around the idea of like hiring somebody again. I've been flipping houses. I'm just now finishing flipping this newest one. It should be done this week. I just power washed the outside of it today. Well, the neighbor that moved in, does handyman jobs, construction-y type shit, whatever. And he was like talking to me about like, do I have any extra work? He's looking for things. He just moved to the area. And part of like when I do like asking, believing, and receiving type things, whenever I put those kinds of desires or whatever out as like a finished thing, I do it in a way like anymore where it's just like, okay, if I'm supposed to like, if this is going to actually be a benefit to have somebody working for me, I want them to be competent, and I want them to just do a good job, and I want to be able to pay them abundantly, and I want them to show up, and I want them not to steal shit, and then kind of focusing on what I do want. It's just a good person, a moral person, a conscious person that just is not a fucking retard, that's just basically what I was looking for, and like this guy, comes, and then in that same kind of situation, it's like, I want them to come to me in an obvious way of like they're almost annoying, like it's like being brought to me and like, hey, hire this guy, almost being fucking annoying about it, like it just won't leave me alone. Well, and that kind of is what happened with this guy. It's like, it's gotten to the point in the past like couple of days where I've been kind of like actively avoiding him because he's been like bugging me about like different types of things. And so then it clicked, today, as I was power washing, he was like, oh, I would have power washed this for you. And he told me how much he would have done. And it's like, well, that would have been great, because I could have made a couple bucks. He could have got this. I could have seen how good of a job he did, because he's talking talking like he's the shit. And that's fine. It's like, I, on some level, want people to be like, oh, I'm better than you at this. And it's like, well, good. I want you to be better than me. I don't want some fucking idiot that doesn't know what they're doing. And so, congrats. There's things I can do that I'm better than you at. So, whatever, and so, I think going to subcontract some jobs to him, but it's the same kind of flow. It's like, oh, just put it out there subtly, plant the seed into the field of awareness, knowing that it'll happen if it's meant to happen, but not really caring about the outcome. I don't really care to expand or do any of that kind of shit. But the plus side is, I can, start to, do more jobs. I can do a bigger impact, because part of my business is just like serving the community, serving others. It's just, you need your house painted, you need your lawn done, what do you need? It's like, I got a bunch of like elderly people, I got a bunch of shit going, mow yards, all of it, and it's like, to expand that, would be a benefit, for not only people working for it, but, and I'm kind of getting on a tangent with this, but like the thing of it is, it happened, almost like annoyingly, and then it clicked to me as like, oh wait, that's what I wanted, is like somebody just to be in my fucking space, like almost being annoying about this shit. And here we go. So it's like, it's a synchronistic thing for me, where it's just like, oh, and that was one of the biggest things I chased, even starting my handyman business, is synchronicity. Just trusting, it's like, oh, they called me at 11:11, and this job is like slightly above my comfort zone, and well, it's 11:11. Fuck it, I'll do it. See what happens. And so I would just chase them, and then it just became so self-evident that it's like, oh, this is easy. This is not hard. It's, God provides these customers, abundantly provides. And I'm just evolving that belief too. It's like I see it at a level, but part of the cool part of like progressing is when you level up, it gets brought to you more. It's like when you're ready, it'll come to you. So you don't have to, you don't need all this extra shit to feel a certain way. Is what I'm trying to get to. And it's about using that energy, even when like, there's like weeks where nobody was even filling out application. Nobody had any interest in working for me. And in the past, where I might become hysterical and try to just, I need to put an ad out there. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to grow. I got this job. I'm weeks and months out. It's like, let's get this. That progression. No, it's just like, fuck it. It's like, I'm kind of enjoying flipping these houses. There's not really that much pressure. The downsides, I feel like I'm just in Groundhog Day, just doing the same, going to the same house, doing the same shit in the same place. So that's what's trying my patience. But, and then it all kind of comes together. But now there's kind of an opportunity to expand. I can subcontract this shit to this other guy. Gives me more free time. Hopefully it works out. And then the progression goes. Then I can see that same energy transfer as then give to another. It comes back. And then you give to another, it comes back. And so hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this is like, for people that are not familiar with the way just energy flows, the way money flows, a lot of people have limiting beliefs about it. A lot of people push it away by like the story they're telling themselves. I hear it all the time from people. It's like, that those people, like in my community, it's like it's like a religious group. It's like it's like, I don't want to say it, because then I don't want to perpetuate. I don't even believe it's real. I believe anybody that's like in right relationship with God and understands the abundance as a part of a promise, that just by understanding who you are in Christ, it's natural and normal that you're abundant, because we're all one. You and God, our creator, is abundant and prosperous and, is the creator of all this stuff anyway. And we are one with our creator in consciousness. So it's like the things that are true of God, on some level, you should be in alignment with yourself. When the Bible says that God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, I think is how the Bible describes it. And like, as far as like money is biblically concerned at that time, that was like a flex of abundance. They didn't have the coin, the whatever. But money in general is just a concept. It's an idea. I was watching this African, I think it was an African tribe, maybe South American tribe, and it was like, and I was taking an anthropology class, and I was like really fascinated with people living in the jungle still, and like these uncontacted tribes and shit. And like what they were doing was like they were taking banana leaves and braiding them and like collecting them. Like the women would do that where the guys were out hunting all day. The women would like collect these banana leaves and like cut them and braid them as like almost like a rope that only functioned as currency, but you could literally make as much as you wanted. And it's like kind of fascinating how that even comes into being, just in like a jungle community, to then start creating a form of currency. But once you like kind of let go of like the narratives of like, anything, that doesn't have God at the center of like the source of your abundance as being, this comes from God. Anything else, if it comes from man, if it comes from the devil, if it comes from, something separate and apart from creation, that's the shit you gotta let go of. Those are, I believe, is that the powers and the principalities and the spiritual wickedness in high places, I believe those are all internal narratives that we have to let go of as we start to transform our perception from God being some being out in outer space, like sitting on a cloud in a courtroom, to more of like a field of like the subconscious mind on some level. Like this inner world is connected with our creator, so it's not outside, it's inside. And so part of like the shift is from that outer thing of being like a Jew, God's outside in space, to being in the kingdom of God, where the kingdom of God is within, according to Jesus, within. So it's like going from without to within as part of the transformation. And so the more that you're able to realize that everything is a reflection of your beliefs. Well, if your beliefs are, if I had this much, then I'd be a bad person. Well, obviously you're pushing it away, even though that wouldn't make you really a bad person if you're already a good person, because it just amplifies who you are being. That makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. I think I'm going to bounce. Hopefully, this is not financial advice. This is just This is how I'm kind of navigating these energy exchanges, because they're everywhere. You know, the more that you're present and the more that you're being mindful of what you're thinking about, how you're feeling, what's triggering you, what feels like constriction, what feels like expansion, and just relationships, the more that you're able to kind of go within and unpack when you're in one of those kind of dropping cycles, and where the old identity wants to become fearful and hysterical, who you are in Christ can transform that to go, oh, when it's dropping, I'm actually still abundant. You know, it's looking at the energy as still just being one energy, one creator, one father of all type thing. You know, and so understanding that is how you start to transmute a lot of that fear and hysteria, is what I'm trying to say. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that gives you something to think about, something to apply, something to kind of do, I guess. But, you know, with that being said, I'm going to bounce. So until the next now, I appreciate, I can't remember if I said that or not. I appreciate everybody liking, sharing, subscribing, all social networking things. Appreciate the people that support the channel. You know, thank you for that. You know, I read all the messages that come along with them. You know, I appreciate it. Thank you. I try to put it to good use. And until the next now, God bless.